Hi, we are live from Hamburg. How is everyone doing? Welcome to the stream. Say hi in the comments. Let me get the comments open. Yeah, we've got a really active week. We've had a really active week. So we're going to have a really busy live stream. We've got a lot to talk about. So I want to just jump right into it and get going pretty quick. Before we do, though, let me go over a few of just the basics. I'm still in Europe, but planning to go to Hawaii this week in the next few days. So the next live stream should be from Maui. While I'm on Maui, hopefully I can get some more footage for you guys and get some instructionals filmed and edited and all that good stuff. Hey, Tomas. Hey, Jeff. Tomas, I haven't heard that much from Tomas and Leon. I was texting a bit with Leon. Looks like they had some gnarly conditions. I just saw the wipeouts. I don't know if they made any waves. The conditions looked crazy. Hey, Dennis, Jorg, Dom Dom, Rich. Good to see everyone. As I was just saying, we've got a very busy session coming up. There was a lot of activity in the Facebook group this week, which I love to see. Hopefully everything's working. I've got my mic in a different spot today. So if it's too quiet, let me know. Or if there's any kind of weird sounds, let me know. John, Matt. Wow, Rich, you had 9 sessions in the last 12 days. That is good. Hans, Axel, Greg. Yeah, good to see everyone. So I was just saying, I'm still in Germany. I'm testing negative for COVID, and that means that I can leave. And so we're planning to leave sometime in the next few days, probably Thursday. Hey, Eric. So I'll be back on Maui, and I can get some good footage for you guys. I like doing these streams from Maui because it's in the morning, which is kind of nice rather than the evening. But they're all great. Let me see a few other housekeeping things. I've got a few changes, or not really changes, but more additions for 2022 with what we're doing with the coaching. And I'll get into that more as the year goes on and as my plans sort of solidify. I'm going to be doing some master classes this year. There's an email list. I can post the link if you want to be on it. And that, I post everything in the Facebook group. So the Facebook group up here is sort of the hub of our community. If you guys want a different community hub, I don't know what that would be. We can discuss it as well. I've been pretty happy with the Facebook group, but if there's a different platform that would work better for our community, I'm open to looking at that. I'm looking at starting a few other additions to the coaching. So doing some more courses. Hey, Max, doing some more courses throughout the year, like we did with the Forward Loop course last year. And as well, maybe some other coaching options like different WhatsApp groups. I've been experimenting with that over the last year, and it's been actually pretty successful. So we'll see. There's going to be a few different options introduced into the coaching space this year. So keep an eye out for that. I'll post everything in the group and of course talk about it on the live stream. All right, I think it's time just to get into the coaching. Hello, Facebook user. So if you're joining us from Facebook, you've got to give StreamYard permission to see your name, and then I can see your name. It should be the description of how to do that should be in my post that I did that's showing up right now that you're accessing the stream through. What else happened this week? Ben Profit posted a video on forward loops, which I thought was really good. His technique aligns with my technique for teaching. And so I like seeing it. It would be interesting too if it didn't align, but it's interesting to have a similar thought process about learning the forward loop, but to hear it through different words. So I said that to the teams that were working on the forward loop through my forward loop course, and it seemed to be well received. So that's maybe worth looking at. All right, I think we can just jump in and get right into the coaching because, like I said, we've got a busy week to catch up on. So I just launched the Facebook. I could see Bart said hello, Owen. So you guys, Bart and Owen, you've got to give me permission. If you just click on that link in the live video. So streamyard.com/Facebook. There we go, Owen. Now I see you. Hey, Edwin. Edwin, have you been skating since it's winter? All right, let me get this loaded up. Hey, Mark. All right, so let's get the Facebook page loaded up in there. There we go. All right, so like I said, we've got a busy session ahead of us. So I'm just going to jump right into it. So we talked about this last week. This is a post that Hans did about backloops. Yes, Caro, I can see you. Hope you're doing good. How are you? How's Cape Town? Have you been sailing? And so Hans posts this example of a backloop. And so let's see if this works. Does this work now? Yeah, it does work. Perfect. Oopsie. And so here's a back loop from a mass mount. And so Hans was pointing out how far back the front hand is and how extended the head is and asking questions about that. So first question about the hand. Yes, in the back loop, you do want your hands back. You can put your front hand back far enough to where it's almost at the harness lines. You don't want your hands over here around the boom. So hands back is good. The head throw is a little bit exaggerated. This is a bit of a style thing. But that said, the head is a very important part of the rotation. And you can see he's throwing his head, but not his body. A lot of people think that the head throw is associated with the push loop, but actually the push loop rotation comes from the hips, comes from the body, from your core, whereas the back loop rotation comes from your head and your arms, your sail work and your head. So the push loop actually there isn't rotating from throwing the head. Something that I want to point out here that's happening that we've talked about before with the back loops is let's go back. Look at where his arms are relative to his body as he's going up in the air, right? They're like this. And then once he passes the apex, after he throws the head back, look what's happening with the arms. The arms push forward. And that push forward is even more and more exaggerated as he's coming down with the nose and landing. So this is a good example of pushing the arms forward. It's a sort of windshield wiper motion that we've talked about before for back loops. And the head throw is exaggerated for style, but throwing the head, spotting the landing is important. You can see that he's not throwing his head wildly. He throws the head back, yes, but then look where his eyes are looking. He's looking at where he's going to land, and the eyes stay looking at that same spot all the way down, and he just steers his nose right into it and then keeps on going. So this is a great example. Thank you, Hans, for posting it, and I hope that my comments help clear up the questions that you had about the clip. Carl says, great, no sailing today the last 5 days. Tomorrow's Devil's Tack worked on the forwards and the 360s, had some progress. That is great to see, Carl. I'm stoked. Where are you going to sail at Devil's Tack? Is that Whitsands or somewhere else? And then do you have any photos, video of the forwards/360s? All right, Steve had a question about tensioning battens after a repair. So there's a video that you can find on YouTube just called Rigging the Ezzy Wave with Graham Ezzy. And it's like 30 minutes long, and I go over everything that you need to know about rigging the modern Ezzy sails. And there's a section in there about batten tension. We're not going to watch this. I'm going to stop it. I think there's ads on it for some reason. But what I just want to show you that there's chapters. So if there's a subject that you're interested in, you can just go in and find it. And bat intention is in there as well. Cool. Wit Sands. I love Wit Sands with starboard tack, Carl. That can be really fun. Or Misty Cliffs, depending on how the swell is coming in or the wind is coming in. Is it going to be really big swell? Dan, I like to hear you're sleeping with the new carbon boom. Bart, nice to hear you got 3 days this week in Cornwall. Yeah, Jeff. Wit Sand starboard tack is a treat. It's really special because the waves can be so clean. It can be really fun. Wit Sands or Misty Cliffs. I actually prefer Misty Cliffs, but it depends on the wind direction. Sometimes the wind is too offshore in Wit Sands and the wave is too fat. Whereas then in Misty Cliffs, the wind is a little bit more sideshore, which makes it just a little bit easier getting around. And then also the wave has more shape. But I've also had some really fun sessions in Wit Sands. I had some great sessions with Tavi a couple years ago. All right, next up, we've got a post from Jose in Spain. And Martin filmed these drone shots of him. And his question is, I don't know why the first wave disappears. The next wave has some shape, and so he goes off the back. We're going to watch the video in a second. So what happened there? He ends up falling and water starting. The second wave, he's able to make some good turns, and then there's no space for the second turn. So let's give this a look. He's on the nice new Ezzy sails. That's cool to see. All right, what happens? What happens? Yeah, the wave just disappears and continues off and just rides on to the next one. So in this situation, it looks like we've got changing water depth. And so it looks like it's shallower here, and then it gets deeper again, and then it gets shallower again. So the wave starts to break, but then it hits deeper water. All the energy dissipates. And what that means is that this is not a place to turn on the wave. And so it looked like there was a section for turning on the wave about here. And so if you're in the right place, you can go front side or you can go back side, right? Like this, let's pause it. This little corner here is a great spot for going backside. But if you were positioned differently, you could have gone front side and hit this section. But then it's not even worth trying to turn on this wave. And it's hard to see from the video whether then this swell reshapes on the inside if it hits a sandbar again. Looks like maybe it starts to, but I'm not so sure. I can't tell how that shape is. That shape on the inside also might not be very good. It might just be about to dump. And so anytime where you come off of the wave like this, and then you're not really carving, instead you're flat on the board sailing clue for a switch stance, it's going to be really hard to do any kind of good off the lip because you're not on the rail. So it's just hard to get this transition, and almost the more you try and throw it, the worse it's going to be. You have to kind of be very gentle about it, connect with the wave again. So like in this situation, I would recommend doing a backside turn here, and then just jiving off the wave and trying to get another one, and trying to pay attention to which swells are breaking and where they're breaking, because when the wave is disappearing, as this one is, and then you turn onto the wave that's about to disappear, its energy is also dissipating. It's not offering you the riding potential that you want. So the wave is disappearing, and you need to be aware of when the waves are disappearing, where they're disappearing, so that you can ride them when they have some nice shape. And this looks like there's something going on with the bottom, so it's going to be somewhat consistent wave to wave. All right. We've got a different wave, different section. Let's watch this. So this is, I'm not sure where this is relative to the first area. I like these two turns. That was a great little flow. So I think you say in the comment that you lost speed on the second turn, but I don't see that. This looks flowy. This looks nice. I like this. I like this. I like this first turn. I like this carve. You can see there's rail, there's spray. And then I like coming in to that corner section that we talk about trying to find. There's not a whole lot that I would do differently here. I really like this. It's not great conditions. It's mushy, kind of flat waves, but you're finding a little flow, finding some rail to rail. The only thing I would say to work on, which is a small thing, is to transition a little bit sooner out of this turn into the bottom turn. So you do the cutback and kind of wait, look, and then go into the next turn. The next step, because this is great, there's nothing wrong with this, but the next step then is just getting into that next turn sooner. So you can see when you have, this is such a good example. What I love about this example is it shows how important the fundamentals are. The fundamentals are everything. So we've got the same rider on the same day, on the same gear, and this first set of waves just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And why does it not work? It doesn't work because the wave disappears when he goes to ride it. And that's a function of placement and timing and wave selection, all of the above. And then here, Jose is able to get this really nice flow, these two turns, and he's able to do that because the wave is there, and so it allows it. So what does that mean? It means you need to be hunting for the right wave and really paying attention to being on the right spot on that wave. So on this location, where the waves kind of disappear, figuring out where they disappear, where they don't disappear, making sure that you're doing turns where they don't. One other thing, watching this one last time, Jose, that you can work on is you can also do a kind of whitewater turn on this section. You managed to do a nice carve around the section, but I think it's good. Will be good for your skill to work on turning into these sections as well, turning on the whitewater. But I think this is a good choice for the conditions. So good job, and a great example again on wave selection. All right, let's move on here. We got a lot of comments, 19 comments. Love to see it. Let's see what you guys were saying. So Greg says, nice drone shots. Agree with that. Also, he says that the only thing I can see is at the end of the first clip is you get your backhand forward to the top turn and initiate that top turn. Oh. Yeah, with the first wave. Again, it really just comes down to timing and placement and wave selection. Rich says, yeah, that first wave just disappeared. Yeah, so I agree with Rich here. Hit the foam a little high. I think it's really hard to do these turns on the foam where you've been going flat for so long, where you've been just sailing clue first with a flat board. And it's hard to then really push. You almost need to just kind of let the unweight and let the whitewater push you around. It's hard to do a hard cutback from that position. Let's see what Tavi posted. So it looks like he's got a similar situation. So again, you really want to avoid situations like this. You want to try and stay on the same wave and really focus on wave selection. Now, this wave is way better than the one that he was on in front. You can see the one in front. It's not even breaking, whereas this one is. So a good call to switch waves. But generally, we want to try and connect with the swell. We don't want to be doing disconnected turns, which he's not doing, to be fair to Tavi. He dropped off that one, caught the next one, and then is connected with the swell and doing turns on it. Yeah, cool. So good good comments here. I posted a little action video. Yeah, we can, if we have time at the end of the stream, I can go through the action video and we can talk about it. Caro posted some wave rides. Looks like she's been scoring. And so her questions were specifically about the cutbacks and how to get more dynamic cutbacks. So Nice sailing, Caro. I'm impressed with your speed. Looks like you're having fun. So your cutbacks, you feel like you want them to be more dynamic. There's a few things going on here. We can watch the other clips as well. We can come back to this one because I think there's a lot to talk about here. One thing, and I've mentioned this to you before, is I think it would really benefit you to try some different boards. You've been using these Patrick boards for a long time, and they have a certain way of turning. And I think it would really benefit you to have some time on some different kind of boards, whether it's Taboo or Quattro, or I don't know. Those are, yeah, Taboo, Quattro, some other custom brands, whatever they are. Something that's a little bit more surf oriented. I think that you're going to get a different feeling. Maybe then you end up coming back to the Patrick boards, you stay with the Patrick boards, but it will still teach you a lot about your sailing, about waves, about boards. So I think it's something that you'll really benefit from. And yes, I know it's hard to find the right sizes. All right, let's keep watching through these clips. I think that's a big part of it. I think these Patrick boards are pretty flat in the rocker, and they've got a certain way that they like to turn. And I think it would really benefit you to have some other experiences. But you're doing a good job flowing with the wave. We're just going to watch all these clips, and then I'm going to go through and comment on them. Yeah, I know it can be hard to find, but I think it would really benefit you. I think it'd be really interesting. At first, it's going to feel really weird because you're so used to the Patrick boards, but then dealing with that weird feeling is an exercise in itself, and you'll learn a lot. All right, so I think now we're back to the so let's look at this cutback. I want to show a couple things here. So when we look at the shape of the wave, you can see that unlike some other waves that you're used to riding or we're used to seeing that are like this wave is more shaped like this. It's more of a slope rather than a curl. And you can see that then the water catches on the forward part of the cutback rail, whereas if the wave had been more of a curve, that nose, the nose of your board, would have been able to fall through the empty space, right? Because this water wouldn't be there, allowing your board to carve its cutback on this rear part of the rail, allowing the nose to sort of fall through the turn. And so because the wave is more sloped instead of curled, the kind of cutback that you can do is really limited. And so this has to do with your placement on the wave or wave selection or timing, whichever you want to call it. It's a function of all three, actually. But the kind of cutback that you can do is just very limited with this kind of slopey wave. And you can see that there's a lot of chop going on as well, which also is difficult then to hold the rail. You do good to keep your speed. So what is the solution? So one solution is to go later. So if we look here and we look at this part of the wave is later in the wave, you can see how much smoother it is. Look how much smoother the wave is here versus here when you're doing your turn, right? Like look at all this chop, look at all this texture in the wave. And then we go and we look at this section here, it's so much smoother. It's still pretty slopey, but it also has more shape. It has more curl than the wave before. And you kind of miss the cutback on this section of the wave. It's kind of in between your turns because you did the turn on that section before, and then you start looking for your next turn. And so what I would recommend in conditions like this is to try to do your cutbacks when the wave is like this. So, and it looks like it stands up for a long time. It looks like this wave kind of holds. So you don't have to rush it too much. You have time to get here. So you want to be doing your cutback in this spot, Caro, when the wave looks like this, even a little bit later than this. But this is totally safe. You can see the wave's not even feathering. It's totally safe to do your cutback here in this kind of section. And so the fear should not be a factor there. But you could even go later if you wanted to. But this already, you'll notice a big improvement. You'll notice that it's a lot easier to do your cutback because the nose of the board will fall through the turn. The water is cleaner. It'll just be a lot easier. And so you can almost just think about starting your wave right here, and you can race down the line doing these sort of like setup carves. So you don't want to even press too hard on them, but just sort of riding a little bit up and down the swell and then kind of pumping like you do. Like this is a great example. I love this pump that you do here to keep your speed. That's great. I love that. That's good for positioning, good for your timing. But then just try to come a bit later. And so that's one thing. All right. Next point, which is also related to the timing, is you're looking down the line. You're kind of racing down the line. And in doing so, you're not finishing each of your cutbacks as much because you're anticipating the next one. And this is normal when you have long waves. It's normal that people do this. But what you want to do is really take your time. And this is not that fast of a wave. So you have time. Really take your time and finish the cutback before thinking about the next one. And so really enjoy the cutback, hold the cutback before thinking about the next one. You can see on each of these turns, kind of come out of it. You do like half the cutback and you're going already to the next one. But you can really stay in that turn and it will feel good. All right, let's go to the next wave. So is this making sense? Caro, everyone else, is it making sense what I'm saying? So your technique is solid. I mean, this is another example. I think your technique is really solid here, but the wave is just too early, and so there's not really much that you're able to do. I think one thing, Caro, for you to work on, and this is something that we've talked about before, and it's something that you've really implemented into your windsurfing, is having a lot of or trying to find some patience, some confidence, realizing that you don't need to push as hard, realizing that you have the ability, realizing that you are really good. And just to add on to that is realizing that you also have time, in a spot like this, you don't have to rush it. And so it's a part of having confidence, is not feeling like you have to rush. And so I think that's something to try to add. And then a third thing, which is related to confidence, is you can hit these waves. These waves don't have a ton of power. You're strong. You have a lot of ability. I've seen you hit way gnarlier sections than this. It's got a bit of a curl, but I can tell there's not much power in this wave. But in order to hit that and have it successfully push you out in front, you've got to put that board under the curl, get that high five. And I think these kind of conditions are going to be really good for your sailing. If you get more days like this when you're in Cape Town and trying to hit these sections and, approaching it very similarly to how you do. And your timing here, I think is I think it's good. It's maybe a hair early, but you can also just travel a little bit more down the line and then your timing is perfect. But what you got to make sure is that the board is kind of under the lip to get that high five, not on top of the lip. Because if it's on top of the lip is going to pass under the board. Whereas if you get that high five, the lip hitting the bottom of the board, you get that energy transfer and it will toss you in front. And having this experience with this really down the line offshore conditions and getting those high five contacts will transfer to your sailing in Tenerife, in Denmark, Baltic. I've got some waves of yours in my head from the wall in Tenerife. where you're hitting the section, going for the section, and doing like, remember you're doing these like kind of tweaked airs and these off the lips. Those are way gnarlier sections than this. But learning how to hit this section and really come under the lip will help you make those that you're attempting in Tenerife this summer. So this is great training, and I think you're doing a great job. You know, I think the technique on this one, I mean, all of them, but on this one that we're looking at is solid. It's just a matter of getting the timing and getting that board, you know, under the lip. So it's hard to tell from this angle. You know, here it looks like maybe it's just a tad too early, or you need to just travel down a little bit more. But you can hit these sections, and that's the next step. You're there, you're good enough. I've seen you hit way gnarlier ones. So here we've got a similar situation to like the first wave. This one. So you see, like what's happening here is it looks like this wave is about to break. And so then you're getting anxious and you're like, oh, I've got to get down the line. I've got to get down the line. I've got to get down the line. I've got to rush. I've got to rush. But even though it looks like it's going to break, look, it's not actually breaking. Like it looks like it's great, looks like it's going to break. And then there it kind of crumbles down. So you have more time than you think you have. And also there's really not a lot of power here. You can hit this with very little consequence. There's very little power in this wave. You know, one thing about the technique is that especially when the wave is kind of flat like this, you really want to keep your butt low and use as much power from your body weight to keep the board on the rail, right? Because the water is fighting you here more than it would be with a steeper wave. But just really keep this butt low and then really hang from the boom, like we often talk about, will also create more dynamic cutbacks in this kind of condition. So hanging from the boom, keeping the butt low will help. Here, what I want you to try, and this is not a end all be all technical advice, but it's something that I want you to try. One is I want you to have a wider grip on your bottom turn. That is maybe end all be all advice for bottom turns, right? You want to have your backhand quite a bit farther back, and that'll give you a lot more control. But in these conditions, you can start to open up your clue already here, which can help you to see and to get up to this part of the wave sooner. So you can come up to this section. But having a wider grip will be immensely helpful in this kind of turn. But also you can open the clue, open the sail a bit sooner, which I want you to try. So Carl, we're talking about a lot of different concepts. I hope that we've got one more clip, right? I hope that I'm not saying too many things. I hope you can remember them. You know, we're talking about timing, placement, wave selection, huge, where you're doing the cutback. And it, you know, it's just physics at the end of the day. Then from a technical, and then trying the different boards, and then from a technical point of view, you really want this wider grip. We see it again on this bottom turn, and this gives you a lot of control and will help for the cutbacks because then you have more control, more speed, better placement for these cutbacks. And then the other thing we already talked about was hitting the lip, which you're good enough to do. I want to see you do it on these conditions. And then dropping the butt, getting low on the cutbacks. And so here, like here, if you had that wider grip and you open the clue, you would be able to come up and hit this whitewater. You would have the power and control to do that. So anyway, we've talked about a lot of things. I don't want to overwhelm you. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, we've got a forward loop video from Dennis. So Dennis is a looper, a looping perfectionist, we can say. So he's he's on the path, the journey to hey EM. So Dennis is on the journey to the perfect forward loop. And so these are the ones that he's been doing for years. Let's just play it again. It's kind of like a somersault. And so he's able to do it, but it's more of a somersault than he would like. He'd like to do the sideways spin loop style. Hey, Steen. All right, so now with the front arm more extended. So Dennis is filming these with his GoPro. And then here's the last attempt. So Dennis really knows what he needs to work on. All right. Here's the last one. Boom. Hey, H. Max says, Bronzinho said that Mark and Gould told him the board goes where the eyes look. Yes, that is true. Most of the time, most sports, and most times in windsurfing, it's not always true, but it often is. You want to look where you want to go. All right, let's, oops. We don't want that. We've got like playing the live view. We don't want that. All right, let's get into, so Dennis, are you still in the chat? Because it looks like you know what you need to do, and it looks like you're doing it. Like if we look at this progression, and we look at this last one, I can see your head going back. It's huge, right? If we compare it to the first one, I can see it looks like you're twisting more than somersaulting. We could see a little bit more front arm extension, but looks solid. The clue catches there. All right, here's another one where we can't see your body. But solid landing. So, Dennis, I'm going to go back to your question. Oh, here's your question. Because it looks like you're making progress. It looks good. I love this documenting your journey. And so you say, yes, you feel like you're progressing. And I agree. It looks like you are. I don't want to say a lot because I don't want to mess up your, because one, I don't want to mess up the process because it seems like it's working. But also two, there's not much to say because your process is working. Yeah. So it sounds like you're on a good journey. The only things I would add are things that you already know that we've already talked about, which are let's get into it with one of these. Which is really extending that front arm and pushing forward the front arm, and then also really twisting with the body. And so we can see more of a upper body, lower body disconnect where you're kind of pushing with the board and twisting with the body, and they start to disconnect from each other. Hey, Edwards, that's something you can think about. In helping Dennis with this journey on his forward loops, it helped me realize something really important about forward loops. And that is that we always talk about sheeting in, right? And that the forward loop is, a big sheet in. We talk about, push the sail forward and sheet in. And I realized going through this process with Dennis that that's actually not true. And because we think about, if we think about sheeting in is, you see me with the camera. So, sheeting in is like this motion. And that's very, what's the right way to say this? It's like, a tiny percent of the motion that you actually need to be doing in the forward. And so after this work with Dennis, the way I've come to think of it and talk about it is not actually as sheeting in, but just as very forcefully twisting your body to torque the sail. So instead of, here, I'm gonna change my screen. We'll go back to Dennis's screen in a second. So instead of just thinking about sheeting in with this backhand, pushing forward, sheeting in, you think about throwing the sail forward and then twisting, right? Using your core, your whole body, twisting, pushing around, and really twisting with that upper body, pulling against the sail, and using your body to twist the gear around you. Ben Profit released that video I talked about in the beginning, which I like to see because he uses a lot of the similar methods and concepts to teaching the forward that I do, which would be fine if it was different as well. But I like hearing different words explain the same concepts. And one of the things he said that really stuck with me was to think of it like a circle, and your body is the center of the circle, and the gear is going around you. And so that twisting motion is twisting the gear around you, and the wind helps you to do that. And that way, your body is not rotating very fast, right? It's like the center of the wheel, and then the gear is rotating faster around you, right? The outside of the wheel is moving faster than the center. So anyway, so I thought that was pretty interesting. All right, let's get back to how do I bring this screen up again? All right, there we go. So anyway, so the twist is, I think, really important, Dennis. But it looks like you know what you're doing. It looks like you're making a lot of progress. I like to see it. Getting this hand back, like to see it. It looks really intentioned. You could stay sheeting in a little bit longer. Would also help you land more on the board. You just hold it a little bit more. Hold that pressure in the backhand. Will help you come around a bit more and land on the board. Because when you release pressure from that backhand, you stop rotating. But it looks like you're really figuring out this journey. So I'm stoked to see it. So I'm going to move on because it seems like, I mentioned a couple things, but also it seems like you're on a really good path. So unless you have another specific question, I'm going to move on. Well, I'm going to move on, but you can just ask the question and then I'll go back to it. All right. Leonardo asks about shore break. How do we go through the shore break when it's big? And we've got 56 comments. Whoa, that's epic. You guys are so cool. So there's a video which I didn't watch that Damien posted about Hart's techniques. And so two of them that stuck with him. One is beware of yellow water. Yellow white water happens when the waves are pretty big, and it can be kind of gnarly. So that's good advice. The second one is don't wait for a calm gap between the waves before starting to launch. By the time you actually have launched, it's likely won't be calm anymore. Watch the waves and try to be hopping onto your board into the exploding remains of the last of the big waves. Hopefully you can get to actually use the gap. I half agree with this. I think that this can be sometimes true, but the truth of it, and this is sort of a hard truth, is that you just have to be fast. And so I am trying to launch when there's a gap. But one thing I noticed, the difference between me and the other sailors who are standing on the beach waiting for a gap in the shore break, is that I can get on my gear and get moving like that, and maybe the person next to me is taking some time, they see the gap, they put the sail up, they get kind of comfortable, they find the place on the boom that they like, then they get on, and then at that point it's too late. And so what that means is that one of the skills that you can practice to get better at going through shore break is just beach starting really quickly. And so the faster you can beach start, the faster you're going to be able to get on your board and get out when there is a gap. So a lot of these small skills that we don't think to practice, like fast tacking, for example, which doesn't help with the shore break, but helps with catching the right waves, staying upwind, all this other stuff, are really important to train. So fast beach starts make a big difference if you're dealing with shore break. All right, let's see what else people have to say, and then I'm going to give my comments. Dum posted when we talked about shore break. So Tavi posted this. The wind looks kind of light. So one of the things, and this is about shore break, but also about all kinds of conditions, is that you really want to make sure that the nose of the board is really pointing into the whitewater, and that the length of the board is perpendicular with the whitewater. And then the whitewater can pass under the board. If you have any angle, any little bit of angle, that whitewater is going to pick up your board and push you backwards, which you don't want, right? So you got to make sure that you've got that nose pointed perfectly into the whitewater, perpendicular with the whitewater. And that's pretty important. Yeah, so we can see Tavi here trying to deal with these waves, trying to get out through these conditions. It doesn't look like, I think I was sailing this day. I think I remember this day. Tavi, if you're on the stream, was this that day in Scarborough where you, me, and Paul sailed, and it was super light and hard to get out? Maybe it's not that day, but it kind of looks like it. All right. So Archie says the main thing is timing. Definitely agree with that. Timing. John says suggest getting to supping. He had an epiphany on the sup. Standing in surf stance for going out works wonders. You can push on your back foot to wheelie over whitewater and push on the front foot to regain control. Yeah, so being out of the straps when you're going through whitewaters or in the shore break makes sense. There's some talk about whitewater. Fabrice links to it. Adrian on some definitions here. Philip says, okay. Thanks for the clarification, Tavi. Philip says, getting over an gnarly shore break is all about timing, standing just in front of it with the gear in your hands and waiting for the perfect moment. Yeah, I agree. The other thing with shore break is that there's a line, and as soon as you get over that line, you're safe. And so sometimes you can be, half a meter from that line, and then you just have to fight like hell to get past it. And as long as you make that half meter, you're going to be fine. But if you stay in that spot for more than a second, then that next wave is going to push you into the beach. So it's about knowing these lines, or paying attention to where that line is of the safety zone and the danger zone. Andy talks about tide states. That's also interesting. Here's some pictures of bailing, getting over whitewaters. Okay, so let me talk a bit about a few other things. So the first thing I want to say, because this is something that I see people do wrong a lot, and I see my friends do it wrong. I see lots of people do it wrong, is when you have gnarly shore break, don't come in. Once you get out, have your session, have fun, and don't come in. Like, I had a day with my friend Paul, and I love him. He's a great sailor. He's a really good sailor, and it was in tough conditions in Ginshu where we were sailing, and kind of gnarly shore break, hard to get out. And he got out, and I got out, and I sailed for like, I don't know, 2 hours, and he sailed for like 25 minutes. And I was like, hey, why didn't you sail so long? What, after the session? What happened? He's like, yeah, well, I came in and then I couldn't get out again. And so just stay out until you're done. It's different if there are spots where the shore break is the only wave that you can ride, but that's also not very fun sailing. But generally there is another wave, another sandbar, or whatever it is that you're aiming to ride. Just stay out there. Don't come in until you're ready to come in. It's a mistake I see so many people make. And I don't know why it is. I guess we get stuck in certain habits of, okay, this is how far I come in to jibe. I like to jibe next to the beach, blah, 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 blah. Just stay out. And it's the same if there's not much wind on the inside. You don't have to come in if there's no wind there. Jibe sooner, tack sooner. Try and stay out where the wind is. So change what you're comfortable with in terms of where you're coming in, where you're tacking, where you're jibing. So that's a huge one. Now, for getting out, I think having a fast beach start is really important. 2 is to be tireless with it. One part of getting out through whitewater, and we really saw this in Tavi's clip, is just pushing. He's getting worked, he's trying, he's getting worked, he's trying, getting pushed around backwards. And if you push enough, well, first of all, you're learning. All this time when you're pushing through, getting out through the whitewater, you're learning. And then eventually you're going to get out, and then you have your session, and it's a lot of fun. So the mistake that I see people make is they try to get out one time, doesn't work. They come into the beach, they have a rest. They try to get out another time, they come to the beach and they get a rest. And the problem with this is that in a 10-minute gap or a 10-minute segment, there's maybe 1 30-second gap to get out. And if you're trying continuously for those 10 minutes, you're going to be there when that 30-second gap happens, and you're going to get out. But if you come into the beach and you have a break, and then you go again, you come into the beach and you have a break, the odds are you're going to miss that gap. And it's all about timing, is what people say. People are saying, and I agree with that. So if you just keep trying this sort of like dogged approach, then you're going to be there at the right time. And of course, be safe with it, right? You can chicken jibe. You don't want to put yourself in a dangerous situation. Make sure that you're pointing the nose of the board to the whitewater, like I keep saying. Now, if the conditions are really onshore, there's also a bit of a different technique. And so when it's really onshore with shore break, it's hard because getting out is also getting upwind. And we have this in the World Cup in Silt, where we have a gnarly shore break and the wind can be straight on shore, and it's a mission to get out. And sometimes in a heat, the best guys in the world can't get back out again. They can ride a wave in and you can't get back out. But how you do get out is you're going parallel to the beach, and you just sail maybe 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, just waiting for a gap, looking for a gap that you can just then jam upwind enough to get past that line and to then be out far enough into the safety zone. And then the trick is just to go down the beach, down the beach, down the beach, down the beach, and then back up again, just looking for that little gap to get out. So timing is king. So being quick and being ready and being there when that gap presents itself is really important. Watching for those gaps, making sure that you're launching in the best area. Sometimes if you walk upwind or downwind, you'll find an area with more wind that then makes it easier, or maybe with a little bit of channel or a little bit less current, which can make it easier to get out. Or if there's maybe like a little break in the wave, if there's a kink in the wave, you launch a bit upwind of that, getting out over that kink can help for getting out. The other important thing is when you're looking for the gap is not just looking right in front of you, because often there is current, often you are going downwind. So it's looking in front, but also downwind, and trying to spot a gap. And there is some truth to that quote from Peter Hart, that you want to anticipate it. So you don't want to just get on your board when the ocean is flat. I don't know if it's the best advice to just jump on the board when the waves are exploding either. It is a bit of a finesse thing where you're trying to time it, and sometimes you time it wrong. But again, it's really about just this constant effort and then staying out once you're out, and figure out there is this line. And sometimes I see as well, something people do is they're like, this far away from safety. And but then they've kind of given up because they're falling. So sometimes if you fall, you're over the whitewater, but you're at that line where the shore break starts to break, just grab your foot strap and swim with your gear. And you swim this much farther out, and you're past that line where the waves start to break, and then you're safe. Then you can water start and get out of there, or swim a little bit more and water start and get out of there, and you're safe. So anyway, that's a lot of different topics about shore break. This is a really important concept. I need to do some videos on this. I'm writing a big note next to me. This is something for me to film on Maui. I've got a lot of stuff to film on Maui, but this is a big topic, and hopefully, Leonardo, what I said helps. Let me know. All right, next up. All right, we gotta. All right, so Axel says, here's some attempts of riding waves in almost dead onshore conditions, which I'm not very experienced at. Spot is Tarifa, Torre de la Pena in southwest wind, 94 liters and a 5.3. Waves usually only had isolated little peaks, didn't offer a lot of power. There was no groundswell. The first clip shows some backside hacks that mostly felt good, but leave a lot of room for improvement. Guess I should try to lean more onto the sail for tighter turns and move the rig towards the tail. All right, let's check this out. And then after that, we can check out the next part of the question. Whoa, why is that not playing smoothly? Oh, so this looks good. I think you can. Yeah, I like that. Wow, that was nice. Look at how dynamic that is. I like that. The only thing I would add is looking for the high fives, where you're coming a little bit on top of the power source rather than connecting with it. But I like this turn a lot. So do more of those. Do more of those. That is closer to a high five. You can still get a little bit more of a high five. You're still coming on top of it more than I'd like to see. And so you could keep your weight more forward. But it looks like you're having fun. Looks like you're getting... So there's another example where if you get the high five, the wave is going to give you a lot of speed, and that's going to push you, right? So here you're not getting the high five, but if you do get the high five with this whitewater, it will accelerate you. Yeah, they felt good because they were good. Good job. Lean more onto the sail for tighter turns. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is focusing on getting high fives rather than being on top of the whitewater. And then you could lean more forward through the turn, just sort of leaning forward, staying on the rail. All right, second clip shows a couple frontside attempts that didn't really work out. I had a hard time at keeping the speed through the bottom turn. Yeah, it's hard in really onshore winds, except for the last one where I kept the speed but got backwinded at cutback time. I obviously didn't open up the sail enough throughout the bottom turn and completely forgot to move my hands. Any other mistakes you can spot? All right. Let's play this one now. So we want to see a wider grip. Wider grip gives you a lot of control. So it's a little bit hard with this camera angle to see everything that's going on here, but wider grip for sure. And then I think you want to be pushing the sail away from you more and trying to go with a tighter bottom turn. So a little bit less of a long bottom turn and more of a U-shaped bottom turn will also help you get the sail in the right position. It sounds a little bit paradoxical because it's in the onshore conditions, it's harder to go do that but when you're traveling down the line like that, you end up with so much power in the sail that makes it a lot harder to do that cutback. And when you do actually a more U-shaped bottom turn, you're carving harder and coming more up the wave. The sail is actually more neutral and more set up in a position to whip you around into the cutback rather than pulling you down the line. Little secret about onshore wave riding. So wider grip, sticking out more and going for more of a U-shaped bottom turn. This is a good example where the board follows your head. So if you're looking at a much tighter spot, you'll get there. Okay, let's look at this cutback. So the first thing I see here is that in the turn, Axel, you're trying to turn the board this way. We want to be using the board this way with the rails. So getting lower with your butt, hanging, but it's hard. In onshore conditions, it's hard. All right. Wide grip again, we want to see. Shorter bottom turn, we also want to see. So more of a U-shaped bottom turn, shorter, coming up into the wave, and it's going to create a much more dynamic top turn. So the U-shaped bottom turn is, I think one of the biggest things that will help you, Axel, and aiming for that. And then I think some of the technique will come out of that aim. Yeah, hand movements are crucial. Hands, that's correct. All right, Trules asks, general question about bailing tips and what to do once you're in the drink on the inside. I mostly sail in really soft waves and have this automatic, and have just gotten this, I don't know what this is trying to say, to nerve up to sailing with confidence and more proper reef breaks in the Oslo fjord. When you're too late on the bottom turn and see that you will get demolished, jump in and hold on to the boom for your dear life, or just dive away from your equipment. You get a top turn in, but get thrown out the front door, just lose your balance in the whitewater. Do you hold on or let go? You're already in the drink on the inside where it is still big, short intervals between 4 and 7 seconds. If you get to the mast tip but unsure if you can push it down far enough, try as best as you can to get it down and hold it, or just let it go. You're inside where it's smaller, and if you get the sail out of the water and high enough, you can make it fly over the whitewater, but that means being dragged a lot further in. Do that, or just dive the mast tip in until you get a long enough break between the waves to get on the board. You're in the drink in a hopeless place, maybe unable to get up on the board due to shifty wind or the waves just not letting you get out easy in that place, i.e. you have to get a lucky break to get through the break. You don't know for sure what will happen. Just keep on trying, getting washed and worked to finally get through, or just to get back to the shore and walk up to the beach where you know it's okay to get out. All right, there's a lot of questions in here, and I'm going to go through them one by one, kind of rapid fire. Again, we've got a lot of stuff to go through today, so this is, maybe I need to up my energy to keep this flow going. But I feel good. Hopefully you guys feel good. How's the chat? Let me put it to the chat. How is everyone doing? We've been at this now for an hour. I think we've got just a little bit left, but I want to check in with everyone, see how you're doing. And this is one that I think you guys can answer. What do you think about bailing? So I want to hear, what are your tips for bailing? Are you scared? What is your advice? What are your questions? What are you unsure about? And also any stories or experiences. You guys sail a lot of different conditions, and I love hearing your stories. And even like this question from Truls talking about 4-degree water, that definitely changes the equation. What the conditions I'm sailing in, whether I'm in Europe or Hawaii, are generally a lot warmer than that. And so when I say, yeah, you should always hold on to your gear, that's from a different set of base circumstances. And so it's great for me to hear your stories and your experiences. Okay, so let's just answer these questions one by one. When you're too late on the bottom turn and you'll get demolished, I try and steer away from the lip. I try and cut my bottom turn short, steer back in front of the wave. The wave breaks behind me and let the whitewater push me in. So try and get away from the lip, get in front of the wave, do a chicken bottom turn is what I try and do. And I think that's the answer in most cases. When that's not possible and it's too late and you're already too close to the lip, you probably just throw the equipment away, which I don't like doing. I think it's almost never the correct answer. Almost always you want to hold on to the gear. That's almost always the correct answer. But in this situation, if you can't steer away from the wave, and in those kind of situations where then you're so close to the lip and you're already still in your bottom turn, you're too late, it's very hard to get in a good position with the gear to get worked. The best position for the gear to get worked is with the mast pointing into the wave and the luff, so the mast of the sail, pointing into the wind. And you want to be on top of the sail. And that is the safest position. If you're in that position, it's like a sled. The whitewater hits you, it'll carry you in. You're not going to flip or twist or do anything. But it's very hard to get into that position if you're extended in your bottom turn and you're too late for the lip. So in this situation, if you can't turn away, so again, in this situation, when I really recommend is turning away, just abandoning that bottom turn, turning in back to the beach, and just trying to keep on sailing. But if that's not possible, it's really hard to get in a safe position. You should probably just throw the gear, which I hate saying. All right, next example. You get thrown over the front, lose balance in the whitewater. Do you hold on or you let go? Hold on. You should almost always hold on. I think the gear it floats, first of all, so you're safe with the gear, often safer than without it. I think you generally want to hold on. But there's a few rules to that. I think you want to hold on with your hands, not with your feet. You never want to be with just one foot in a foot strap. That's how you hurt your knees, hurt your ankles. So holding on very tight and then take both feet out of the straps. So you're holding on with your hands is good. If you're under the sail, I don't like to be worked under the sail. If you're under the sail and you're being dragged forward, so I'd say I'm being dragged towards here. I'm going to make myself bigger so you can see. So if I'm being dragged towards you and I'm under my sail like this, there's a trick that you can do. So this is my front hand. What I do is I pull my front hand in and I push my back hand up. And what that does is as you're being pulled forward with the water flow, it's going to flip you over. And so you'll flip over underwater and you'll end up on top of the sail holding on to the boom, which is just a safer position to be in rather than under the sail. You always want to have the mast pointing out to sea. You don't, if it's sideways, you roll. If it's into the beach, you flip and can break a mast. Always want the mast pointing out to sea. All right, next question. If you're already in the drink on the inside, short interval waves. Yeah, so you don't need to get to the mast tip. Like for example, I like to hold on to the mast with one hand and the boom with the other, and push the mast into the wave. Push the mast down, and I can use my feet. I can push on the mast with my feet to get it underwater. And I think as you're getting hit with whitewaters, you generally want to be in that safe position, that getting worked position, until you're somewhere that is safe. So generally, you want to hold on. I see that you say that once the wave landed on your mast and broke it, that's bad luck. Sorry to hear that. You're on the inside where it's smaller. I think often you dive the tip of the mast in. I mean, sometimes if you can kind of fly the sail and point the nose of the board to the whitewater, and then push the nose of the board over the whitewaters and kind of keep the sail flying, that's also a safe position if the whitewaters aren't too big. But as soon as they get big, you want that sail in the safety position until it's safe to water start. And if you've got rocks or something behind you, that changes the equation, and you've got to just water start really quick. Dom said something I like. It says, bailing can be scary. A good start for me was to work on my general fitness. Agree. I like it. Working on your fitness, working on your breath, working on your swimming. It's good. All right. Next question, number 5. You're in the drink in a hopeless place, maybe unable to get up on the board due to shifty wind, or the waves just not letting you. Don't know what will happen. You just keep trying, getting washed and work to finally get through and get back to shore and walk up the beach to where you know it's okay to get out. I would say in this situation, do the walk up the beach. Yeah, you can try to get out, but if it's just a matter of walking 15 meters up the beach or 20 or whatever it is, just walk up the beach. You don't need to waste your energy and time trying to fight in a really difficult spot to get out. I'm just making a note of stuff to talk about in other videos getting worked. I think these are, let's go back to the question here. I think these are core skills we seldom discuss. If you don't master them, you're never able to charge better and bigger waves with confidence. Agree with that. Being anxious gets your shoulders above ear height and your body stiff as a log. I also agree with that. Yeah, so this is a great question. Cool, and hopefully what I said helped, and we've got a lot of comments here in the group. Hopefully they're helpful as well. Jeff unfortunately broke his toe. Jeff, man, sorry to hear that. I once broke my little toe in Cape Town, and I still sailed. I taped it to the toe next to it and took ibuprofen, but still sometimes I jam that toe on the board or somewhere else, and would it hurt. So you can sail, but sometimes it will hurt a lot. But the tape helps, and so does the ibuprofen. And I hope you're still having fun. All right. This is a little update on this post from November with people heading to Cape Town. I want to see videos and photos and how the conditions are. All right, so Hans posted this footage from last Sunday, from before the live stream. All right, let's see how it looks. Hanging from the boom, I like that. Getting that looked like a high five. All right, next clip. Where is this, Hans? What's the beach? It's a little bit shaky for me, which is fine, but just so it's shaky for you because it's shaky also, just in general. Yeah, nice. I like that timing. I like that timing coming up. Looks like you are getting these high five moments. You're carrying your speed. It's hard to see. It's hard to see with this angle, everything that's happening. But what I can tell is that you're keeping your speed. And from what I can see of the shape of the wave, it looks like Looks like you're finding those high five moments. This one, the wave got a little bit ahead of you. It's just timing on that one. All right, next clip. Yeah, cool. So here you can hang even more, but looks good. Your foot is really far forward from the tail. Is this one of the flex tail boards from Witchcraft? Those look super interesting. All right, so here's another one from Hans. So it's in Domburg. Fun but difficult onshore session today. I noticed a huge improvement when moving the hands forward on the boom. For the top turn, without moving the hands forward, it's easy to get pulled over by the sail in the top turn. By moving the hands, the top turn went much smoother and in more control. The effect seemed bigger than onshore. Yeah, cool. All right, and wearing the washing gloves. How do you like the flex tail? So for those of you who don't know, this board has a very flexy tail. Like the tail fully bends, which is super interesting. So here, I would like to see the timing a little bit more on point. So like that corner section, I want to see you getting to this corner now, or even a little bit later. Here's also fine. But this point is just a little bit later, a little bit too late. And then that would set you up for the rest of the wave, getting that first hit. But otherwise looks solid. Let's see the next one. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, that looked dynamic. I mean, again, it's hard to see with this camera angle, but I can tell with the speed and sort of the redirection of what's happening. That looks dynamic. Looks also from the timing here, looks like you're connecting with that white water. Cool. I'd like to see that. Oh, this is the first one again. So really the biggest thing is just the timing. And, we have waves where we mistime it. But that happens to all of us. Me, you, everyone. But yeah, I like it. And it's nice to hear about your progress, Hans, with what's working and what you see from adopting the different technique. Love it. This is gold. I love seeing these progress reports. Oh no, Philip hit his face. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. So Philip is one of our rippers up in Denmark. And yeah, I got his mask to the face. Philip, I hope you're okay, buddy. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Philip, I made a list of moves for you to work on in the fall. Have you been working on them? And if so, what have you been working on? What has worked? What hasn't worked? So Philip was on our masterclass in Denmark, and 2 years in a row, actually. And gave him a kind of an assignment, a list of moves. And I want to hear how that progress is going. Ouch. Yep. We try to avoid these, but it's part of the game. Sometimes it happens. All right. We already talked about this clip. I think we are caught up. Can that be? Yeah, we're caught up. Wow. All right. I want to throw it to you guys. So we can break here, see each other next week, or I can go through the video that I posted and talk about it. I don't know if there's anything interesting in there for me to talk about. I can talk about, I don't know, the moves or something. Or we can just call it for today because we've already been going for over an hour. I think we're gonna call it. I'm gonna make the decision to call it. I can talk about the clip next week when I'm on Maui, and I can dissect moves or whatever you want. And having this time, this break, gives you guys the opportunity to come up with questions. So if you have questions you want to talk about bottom turns or takas or goiters or whatever from that clip, I can pull it up and we can talk about it. But I'm going to sign off. I'm going to get to bed, and I'm going to wish you guys a really great week. Good time on the water. Have fun. Sounds like a lot of people are in places where they're getting conditions, whether it's in Europe or South Africa. So I want to see some footage, and I'm stoked for you guys, and I'm very excited to get back on the water myself, hopefully next week. Jennifer, nice to see you in the chat. I want to see some update from the last footage we saw from you. That was great footage. You were ripping, and I want to see the implementation of the coaching. So I'm excited to see that. All right, everyone, I'm going to sign off. Take care. Have a great week, and put your questions, videos, photos, all of the above in the Facebook group. And I'll see you next week. Bye.